Hi class again, this is Fidnold, and now with this micro lecture video, we will address the second part of the PowerPoint for chapter 1. We had like the first part and I already like download this part for you so you can really understand really like the first 10 slides of the PowerPoint for chapter 1. Now we'll address the second part. That means the rest of the PowerPoint. I wanted to make sure to divide this micro lecture in two, so you would not feel too overwhelmed with all of the information I wanted to share with you regarding this chapter. When I say information, that means the lecture. So from the first part, the micro lecture, chapter 1, first part, we talk about the definition, what is philosophy. We talk about the 4 different ways you can really define the word philosophy, either etymologically speaking or socially speaking. So, and then we try to really talk about the main fields of philosophy, which is really firstly epistemology, metaphysics, and axiology. And axiology, you know, he's divided in 3 groups. The first one is ethics, the second one is moral, and the third one is aesthetics. Okay, this is more or less really what we talk from the first part of this micro lecture. Now we address the second part. Let's really share again the screen so that we can really know what to talk about. Okay, this is where we stop. We stop about really philosophy is an intimate activity because it helps to build a personal philosophy of life. It allows us to clarify and identify assumptions. It forces us to ask questions and seek answers that make a personal difference. It makes distinctions and seeks out new perspectives due to the concern of finding meaning in life. This is where we start from the first part. Now let's go to really like something very important. Philosophical discussion calls for community of tolerance. Here we are. We are right now in the center of something that is bigger than us. Be tolerant to one another. And I can tell you from really from this culture, this American culture, it is something we have a lot of lack of. We have lack of tolerance. We don't tolerate people who have different view than us. We don't tolerate people who behave different than us. We don't tolerate people who eat different than us, who speak different than us. And now in philosophy, which is, as I said in the first part, philosophy, you have to get out of your comfort zone to really learn the unknown and unlearn things that you would realize today, hopefully so, it is not okay. I will not say normal, because normality, it is not a word we can use in philosophy. What can be normal for someone can be abnormal for someone else. What can be abnormal for someone else can be normal for you. That means it's too relative. It's a relativist term we'll not use. But I will say what is okay or what feels right. Just this is where you will get out and unlearn your way of seeing the reality and learn a new way. But that does not mean you have to be always in agreement. You don't have to agree with everything specific in this class. However, it will always be good to have an open mind, to be open-minded, to really learn things, to really learn the unknown. Okay? It is a community that calls for community. It is a philosophy discussion calls for community of tolerance. That means agree in an atmosphere of mutual respect. You don't have to agree, as I said, to everything I say or to everything your peers, your classmates say. However, you own your classmate. You owe me respect as I owe you respect. You have to respect my point of view, even if you don't agree with it. This is where we will learn to be tolerant to one another. You must have a critical mindset without being closed-minded. This is what philosophical discussion calls us to do. You call us to be, you call us to do, to create, to build a community of tolerance. And I hope you guys will, in the discussion forum where we will discuss a lot of controversial topics, very hard and difficult topic, we will learn how we can address those topics without being frustrated, without being disrespectful, but only to understand and respect one another or each of our point of views. This is what will make us good thinker, good critical thinker, not really biased against what we already believe in or what we want to take as truth, even if you know there are different ways we can see the truth. Okay, you good here? Awesome. So the second thing is the accuracy and clarity of communication between all participants. You cannot do philosophy if you don't have accuracy or clarity, if you cannot clarify what you're saying, if there's no clarification and you're not really accurate about the communication, about what you communicate to your peers, about what you communicate in the classroom, in life in general, you can't really talk about philosophy. Philosophy, there must be a sustained effort, say what it means, and understand what is said. Philosophy say what is meant and understand what is said. This is two ways you can really go deeper and deeper in philosophy. Say what is meant and understand what is said. Is that clear? That means you guys will be here. You have to think, if you need to think twice before you write down a discussion post, I would suggest you to do that, because now we will learn to be more accurate and to clarify the way we are talking to one another, to let beside our biases, my biases, to be more objective in a way that can embrace everyone in a community of tolerance. Is that okay? Good. Any question? You can text me, you can email me, you can ask me to have a Zoom conference video with you if you need more clarification or if you have questions regarding like this chapter. Okay? Good? Great. Okay. Now we talk about a community of tolerance. I want you to know the difference between debate and dialogue. In philosophy, for example, I will say something general. You will see in news, or like during, for example, we had like the campaign, we have the elections like a couple of months ago, and there were a lot of debates. A debate is different than a dialogue. In philosophy, we don't have debate, but we have dialogue in philosophy, because a debate is a stylized language game played according to formal and arbitrary rules. A debate, there's always a winner and a loser. As you can see, during the time we had really like the campaign, like we have for the presidential campaign, there was really debate between really like the former president and like the new president, where everyone asked who win tonight, who won the debate, who really like really the loser, who was the winner. And philosophy, we don't do debate, but we do have dialogue. A dialogue is a form of conversation in which the communicants strive for reciprocal understanding. A dialogue is not a context, but a mutual search for meaning. That means if I speak, it is a dialogue like between two or more people. You speak and I listen to you. I may disagree with what you said, but I listen to what you said and see really where you came from with what you said. You listen to me, now it's your turn. You speak and I listen to you. I may disagree with what you say, but I do try to understand where you came from with what you said until both of us find a mutual agreement to move forward. We'll never be always in total disagreement unless we let our biases take over us. Otherwise, you will always find something that can really encourage us or like give us the opportunity to move forward. This is really the difference between debate and dialogue. In philosophy, we have dialogue, but we don't have debate. That means there is no loser, there is no winner in philosophy. We all try to find a middle ground, a reciprocal understanding. Okay, this is what I will call really debate and the difference between debate and dialogue. Is it okay? You guys understand? And philosophy, there is no debate. Okay, good. I'm not saying this in a way to make you feel like I'm kind of like really a dictator and to let you know that. No, it's because debate, you always try to really trash the other person. You don't want to listen to the other person, and you always think you have the truth and the other person does not have the truth. And when you act like this, you're not learning from the other person. You're not listening to the other person, and you can't move forward with this person because you already determined to stick with your assumption of things, even if those things you have assumption may not be truth. You never know. Always good to listen to it and respect what the other person said. This is philosophy. Okay, let's continue. This is clear? Good? Great. Okay, there are a lot of difficulties to join a philosophical discourse. The first difficulty that you guys may really like find in this journey with me, this term, is like learning conventional language used by philosophers. The terminology. Sometimes, for example, earlier we were talking about epistemology, we were talking about metaphysics, we were talking about axiology. They're not really words we use to hear every day. They're really specific words that have to do only with philosophy. And there's terminology. We need to know them in order really like to move to further our knowledge and philosophy. That's the first difficulty. The first difficulty you guys may really like face and study in this journey with me. So the second one is the capacity to understand and use correctly the principal philosophical concepts is of primary importance to students to comprehend the work of the philosopher. That means if you really want to understand, to comprehend the work of the philosophers that we'll be studying, addressing during this term, you need to have the capacity to understand and use correctly the principal philosophical concepts. You must understand. You must not only understand, but have the capacity to understand and to use correctly these principal philosophical concepts. That's the second difficulty that you may face during this journey with me. The third one is having the ability to demonstrate knowledge of the knowledge of concepts and terms in order to make sure that they become or have important criterion for student academic achievement. You cannot really like become a philosopher if you cannot demonstrate your knowledge in this field. When you have case studies, when you have essays, when you have really group work, you have to demonstrate your knowledge. You cannot say yes or no for the questions. You always need to justify. You always need to use philosophical concepts in order for you to really prove you have the knowledge and you understand the context, you understand the concepts we will be addressing during this term. Is that clear? No question or no questions? Okay, good. Let's move on. Now I will take some questions that we will be addressing during this term. I want to make sure to let you know there are two ways you can study philosophy. The first approach, there are two approaches. The first approach is historical approach. The historical approach is when you go from the beginning of all of the ancient philosopher, all of the Greek philosopher from the beginning until today. This is a history. You make a history of philosophy. And the second approach is topical. It's a topical approach. The topical approach, you don't go from the beginning until the end, but you choose some topics, some subjects to really discuss in the class. This let us understand this class. We're not using a historical approach for this class, but we are using a topical approach. That means we will address topics. We'll address topics like freedom, topics like justice, topics like feminism, topics like knowledge, topics like reality, truth. This is all of the concepts we'll be addressing in this class. And I hope this will give you further knowledge regarding what is going on around you. Okay, this is what is going on. For example, we'll be addressing what is happiness, and is it always a good thing? And if you're a good person, will you be happy? Are all appearances real? Do our senses deceive us? And if they ever do, can they be trusted to tell us what is real? What does it mean to live well? Who are you? This is a question like this, which is like topical, because we have a topical class. I would not really go from really, I would say like from Democritus, whatever name, or we will address really ancient philosopher, but not really systematically in the sense that really periodically, synchronically. This year we have this philosopher, let's focus on it. No, because at the end of the day, you will just learn a lot of philosophers' names, know maybe their theories, but you will not really earn anything that can really serve you in your life in the future, in the sense that really topic about really is true freedom ever really possible? If so, is freedom a good thing? What do you know about freedom? We talk about freedom every single day. We go to protest because we want to have our freedom, but what this means to us? This is things like this we'll be addressing in this class to make sure, guys, you understand. When you talk about justice, you know what this term means, this concept means, and really all of the little nuances this term can have. This is what we will be addressing the whole term in this class. Okay, good. Any question? Anything? Okay, good. So the impact of philosophy in our lives. Such question may challenge the way we habitually look at the world. Of course, you will see the world differently in this class. Of course, you will think differently. Even if you will do like the minimum effort, you will make the minimum effort, you still learn something. Then after we are challenged to look at the world differently, we may have an obligation to change the way we live our lives in the world. This is the whole point about philosophy. Not only you will see the life you will see the world differently. But after you challenge yourself to look at the world differently, you may have the opportunity or the obligation to change the way you live your lives in this world. By changing the way you live your lives in this world, you may change the world. Not the world like, okay, but people, things around you may change as well. As soon as you change, that's the same thing about some people think really they can change the world. However, they never make the effort to change themselves first. By changing yourself, by changing your habit, by changing the way you used to think, by changing the way you used to look others, you change your environment, you change your world, you change the world. Does that make sense? Good. Any question? You good so far? And then this is, now let's see the keywords we'll see or we are addressing this chapter. Convention, determinism, we'll be addressing all of that. Determinism, freedom, as I said, they are all concepts. And then happiness box, libertarianism, philosophy. This is we talk about all of that. And I think really that's the end of this micro lecture video. And I hope you guys really understand. And I hope if you guys have questions, you don't hesitate to contact me, to email me, to ask me for like a video conference, a video call conference to further discuss this chapter, or like to further really clarify these terms with you if you don't understand. Otherwise, if you do understand and everything is clear, please submit all of your assignments. And I will be sure to have like the module for next week available for you by today. Okay, have a wonderful evening, and thank you for your time. Thank you for participating in this class as well. Bye.